Good day, everybody. We're going to talk about water and the major minerals. The body contains around 60% of water. 60% of the body weight is made of water, as well as different organs and tissues. We found the lungs containing 90% of water, the blood 82% of water, skin 80%, muscles 75%, brain 70%, and bones 22%. Functions of water: transport, structural support for molecules, participates in metabolic reactions, solvent, lubricant, body temperature regulation, and maintenance of blood volume. The distribution of water inside or at the cellular level. Fluids are found either inside the cells, intracellular, or extracellular, outside the cells. The extra fluids are present either intravascular, which is the plasma, or interstitial fluids, which is the fluid present between the cells. The water balance. Water sources: we have liquids, foods, metabolic water with a total amount of 1,450 to 2,800. Water losses through the kidneys, skin, lungs, and GI tract with a total 1,450 to 2,800 milliliters. And you can notice that the total amount of water sources equals the total amount of water losses. If the amount of losses is more than the amount of water intake, we get dehydration. And the symptoms of dehydration increase according to the percentage of the water lost. Till we end between 7 to 10% of water lost, we end with dizziness, spastic muscles, loss of balance, delirium, exhaustion, collapse, and finally death. Percentage of water in selected foods: 100% in water, diet sodas, 90 to 99% in fat-free milk, strawberries, watermelon, lettuce, cabbage, celery, spinach, broccoli, 80 to 89% in the fruit juice, yogurt, apples, grapes, oranges, and carrots. From this table, we can see that the foods containing the most water are the fruits and vegetables, and these are advised in the summer where there is a high risk of dehydration. How the body manages the amount of water in the body or the amount of water lost in urine. This happens in the kidneys under the control of two hormones, aldosterone and antidiuretic hormone. Fluid and electrolyte balance. Electrolytes attract water and water follows electrolytes, and this is by osmosis, which is the movement of water, and the driving pressure is called the osmotic pressure. We can do an experiment to show the movement of water. If we put a solution, salt solution, in a beaker and put a semi-permeable membrane in the middle to divide it into two compartments, and then we add in the compartment B more salt, we will find after a while that the solution on the side B increases. The increase in this solution is because of the movement of water from compartment A to compartment B through the semi-permeable membrane. Also, vegetables, if you put some salt on the surface of potatoes, after a while you will find drops of water on the surface of the potato. Also, raisins, they swell if immersed in water, and this means that the concentrated sugars inside the raisins pulled water to the inside by the osmotic pressure. The charges present on water is responsible for this attraction. The sodium, which is a cation, attracts water, as well as the chlorides, which are negatively charged, attracts water as well, because the water has got both charges, positive on the hydrogen and negative on the oxygen. The important body electrolytes: cations intracellular, sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. They are present intracellular as well as extracellular, but we can notice that sodium is more concentrated extracellular. The anions as well are present both intracellular and extracellular, but if we look at the total milli equivalent per liter of the whole cations, it equals the anions intracellular, and the same thing extracellular. The total amounts of cations extracellular equals the total amounts of anions extracellular. Acid-base balance. The pH is regulated on 3 levels. First level is regulation by buffers like bicarbonate, carbonic acid buffer. Second level, regulation by the lungs. And third level is regulation by the kidneys. This scale shows the acidic foods. Like if we can see, the lemon juice has got a pH of 2, the orange juice has got a pH of 4, coffee has got a pH of 5, and these acidic foods should be avoided in a patient with hyperacidity or with peptic ulcer. Minerals. Minerals are inorganic with a variable body handling of minerals, variable bioavailability, variable absorption if there are binders like phytates and oxalates, and also nutrient interaction. Some nutrients, for example, the tea, you cannot drink, or it's better to avoid drinking tea after meals because it hinders the absorption of iron. And each mineral has got a certain function, so there is a variation, variable roles between the minerals themselves. We have 2 types of minerals. We can classify minerals into major minerals, and these major minerals are those present in amounts larger than 5 grams, and trace minerals are those present in amounts less than 5 grams. The major minerals include calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, sodium, chloride, and magnesium. And the trace minerals include iron, zinc, copper, manganese, iodine, and selenium. First, the sodium. Sodium is the principal extracellular cation. It has got a role, it plays a role in hypertension, salt sensitivity, osteoporosis, and with variable amounts in different foods. We have 2 types of foods: the natural unprocessed fresh foods and the processed foods. The processed foods contain large amounts of sodium compared to the unprocessed foods. In 1989, the estimated minimum requirement for adults of sodium is 500 milligrams per day. Chief functions: sodium maintains the normal fluid and electrolyte balance and assists in the nerve impulse transmission and muscle contraction. Deficiency leads to muscle cramps, mental apathy, loss of appetite, and toxicity leads to edema and acute hypertension. Significant source: the table salt and soy sauce. Moderate amount in fresh meats, milks, breads, and vegetables, and large amounts in processed foods. Chloride. It can be present as chlorine or chloride ion. It's the principal extracellular anion. In 1989, the estimated minimum requirement for adults was 750 milligrams per day. Chief function: it maintains the normal fluid and electrolyte balance and is part of the hydrochloric acid found in the stomach necessary for digestion. Deficiency does not occur under normal conditions, and toxicity leads to vomiting. Significant sources of chloride: table salt, soy sauce, moderate amounts in the fresh foods like meats, milks, and eggs, and large amounts in processed foods like sodium. The potassium is the principal intracellular cation. In 1989, the estimated minimum requirement for adults was 2,000 milligrams per day. Chief functions in the body: it maintains the normal fluid and electrolyte balance, it facilitates many reactions, it supports cell integrity, and assists in nerve impulse transmission and muscle contraction. Deficiency leads to muscle weakness, paralysis, as well as mental confusion. Toxicity symptoms include muscular weakness, vomiting, and if given in a vein, it can arrest the heart, particularly if given quickly. Significant sources are all whole foods, meats, milk, vegetables, fruits, grains, and legumes. This chart shows the food rich in potassium. We can notice that broccoli contains a high amount of potassium, carrots as well. This is in the vegetable groups, as well as potatoes. In the fruit group, we find bananas, very rich in potassium, as well as watermelon. And in the dairy group, we find the milk and yogurt contain a large amount of potassium. And in the legumes group, the pinto beans contain a considerable large amount of potassium, and excellent and sometimes unusual sources like squash and acorn also contains large amounts of potassium. Calcium. The blood calcium must remain normal and very closely regulated, whether the individual is consuming an adequate amount of calcium in diet or whether his diet is deficient in calcium. But this will be on the expense of the large store of calcium, which are the bones. If the calcium is not provided in diet, then the body is going to take from bones the calcium in order to keep the blood calcium normal. Two hormones interact together. They are antagonistic in order to keep the blood calcium normal. The parathyroid hormone increases the blood calcium, while the calcitonin secreted from the thyroid decreases the blood calcium. And this is through the action on the kidneys, intestine, and bone. In 1997, the adequate intake of calcium for adults 19 to 50 years is 100 milligrams per day, and 51 years and older, it is much larger. It is 1,200 milligrams per day. And the upper level for adults, 2,500 milligrams per day. Chief functions of calcium in the body: mineralization of the bones and teeth, involved in muscle contraction and relaxation, and nerve functioning, blood clotting, blood pressure, and immune defenses. It has got a role in immunity. Deficiency in children, it leads to stunted growth, while in adults it leads to osteoporosis. And the chart at the bottom of the slide shows the bone density variations with age. We notice that the peak bone mass is present between 15 and 25 or 30 years of age, and after the age of 30 there is a natural process of bone loss, which can lead in the susceptible individuals to osteoporosis. This diagram shows a 50 years old lady, and after that when she reaches 80 years, and we can notice that 6 inches have been lost from the height of this lady. This is due to the natural process of degeneration or bone loss that occurs after the age of 30 years and is maximized after the age of 50 years. The picture on the left is the normal bone, while the picture on the right is the picture of bone having osteoporosis. So at around 55 years of age, the process of bone loss starts or becomes maximized. Actually, it starts from 30 years of age, but it becomes maximum after the age of menopause in females especially. And at the age of 65 years, it is very evident that this individual has lost part of his height, and it's very evident at the age of 75 years. Types of osteoporosis. We have type 1, which is the postmenopausal osteoporosis, and type 2, which is the senile osteoporosis. And this table shows the differences between them. This graph shows a comparison between two women. Woman A entered the adulthood at 30 years of age with enough calcium in her bones to last as a lifetime. Because woman A has reached the age of 30 with a larger amount of calcium in her bones, and this larger amount of calcium has been provided in the diet before the age of 30 years, during childhood, during adolescence, and during early adult age. While woman B had less bone mass starting at age of 30, and so suffered the ill effects of the natural degenerative bone loss process, which at the age of 60 years has entered this patient in the danger zone, and after that it become evident osteoporosis. And this shows the importance of adequate calcium in diet before the age of 30 years, in childhood, in adolescence, and early adult age. Risk factors and protective factors for osteoporosis. The risk factors include old age, low body mass index, certain ethnic characters, Caucasians, Asians, Hispanic, smoking, cigarettes, alcohol consumption, sedentary lifestyle, and use of cortisone and anticonvulsants. Also, the females are more risky to osteoporosis than males. The maternal history of osteoporosis, fracture, or personal history of fracture. Estrogen deficiency in women, this is a risk factor. And finally, a lifetime diet inadequate in calcium and vitamin D. Toxicity symptoms of calcium: constipation, increased risk of urinary stone formation and kidney dysfunction, and interference with the absorption of other minerals. Significant sources include milk and milk products, small fish with bones, tofu, beans, and the dark green vegetables like broccoli, chard, and legumes. Bioavailability of calcium from selected foods. We noticed that the vegetable sources of calcium has got a better bioavailability than even the milk and dairy products. But on the other hand, we find that the foods containing large amounts of calcium are the dairy products, the milk, the yogurt, cheddar cheese, and it's far much more than in the vegetable sources of calcium. Phosphorus, the upper level for adults between 19 and 70 years is 4,000 milligrams per day, and in 1997 the RDA for adults is 700 milligrams per day. Chief functions in the body: mineralization of bones and teeth, part of every cell as part of the phospholipids present in the cell membrane of every cell, important in genetic material, and it's important for the formation of ATP, the adenosine triphosphate, that provides energy for all body functions. Deficiency gives muscle weakness and bone pain, while toxicity leads to calcification in soft tissues, particularly in the kidney. Significant sources: all animal tissues like meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and milk. The foods containing phosphorus, we find that the dairy products are rich in phosphorus, as well as in the sunflower seeds and in the liver. Magnesium. In 1997, RDA in men 19 to 30, between 19 and 30 years, is 400 milligrams per day. In women in the same age, 19 to 30 years, 310 milligrams per day. And the upper level for adults, which is an average for men and women, is around 350 milligrams magnesium per day. Chief functions of the body: bone mineralization, building proteins and building enzymes, normal muscle contraction, nerve impulse transmission, maintenance of teeth, and functioning of the immune system. Deficiency symptoms include growth failure in children, while in adults, weakness, confusion, and if extreme, convulsions, bizarre muscle movements, especially of the eye and face muscles, in addition to hallucinations and difficult swallowing. Toxicity is seen from non-food sources only, and this includes diarrhea, alkalosis, dehydration. Significant sources include nuts, legumes, whole grains, dark green vegetables, seafood, chocolate, and cacao. The foods rich in magnesium, we find the vegetable group, fruit group, containing moderate amounts, as well as the milk and milk products. Also the legume group, the meat group, also contains moderate amounts. Halibut nuts contains the most amount of magnesium. Thank you very much.